Hello and welcome to Healing Tips from the Heart, Intuition with Helpers, Healers, and Guides. I am your host, Dr. Lori Hops, licensed psychologist, writer, and artist. I've explored mind, body, and spirit related to intuition, or your personal guidance system, since early childhood. Meet my guests who have learned from their personal and professional lives to explore vast realms of knowing, synchronicities, and overcoming challenges. Their stories may inspire you with tools to enhance your daily living and relationships. Hello, everyone, and welcome my special guest for today, Dr. Olga Semyonov. Dr. Olga is a psychologist from Israel. She has studied different models of emotion and perception and has published research on these topics in the peer-reviewed prestige journal called Emotion, which she has presented at major conferences around the world in Israel, Europe, and in the US. In the last decade, she switched her focus a bit to weight management and mental health treatments using mind-body interventions called emotional freedom techniques, or EFT, which we'll be talking about. It's also known as tapping. She has been interviewed about EFT with her work on national television in Israel. On October 7th, 2023, when the terrorist attack on Israel happened, Dr. Olga was in Israel planning to work with her group on Zoom to work on weight loss, but she quickly pivoted and instead offered a relief for trauma gathering on Zoom in the midst of the emotional chaos, a project she called Relief. She broadcasted daily on Zoom using EFT and meditation practices to help address the anxiety and stress that people were feeling. And more than 1,000 people were impacted with this beautiful project that she offered. So thank you so much for coming here, Dr. Olga. It's so lovely to see you. And I'd like people to know that I met you in 2024 at the Energy Psychology Conference in Arizona in the United States. We got to meet each other, and I just was immediately drawn to you, and I could see that spark of light that you carry, and was so delighted to hear about your story. And thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast today.
Thank you so much, Lori. I'm honored to be here today, and I'm very excited. And meeting you was indeed a very interesting and beautiful moment. And the cycle of love that you organized right there in a spontaneous way, that's one of the best memories from that conference.
Yeah, do you mind speaking a little bit more about what happened when we met?
Sure. So we were at the conference, and it was the dancing party. And we were introduced, and so we talked about the war in Israel and everything that's going on and how tense it is on everyone. And out of nowhere, you just said, "Hey, let's just send love to Israel and the land." And we had other people there also that just joined us, and we had this beautiful cycle of love, just sending love to Israel. And I was in tears. Actually, I was just so emotional because it has been such a hard time, and it was almost a year by then. And I uploaded this video to my followers, and people were just so emotional and so excited to receive all this love all the way from Arizona.
Yeah, it was one of the more magical moments of my life. It sort of felt like this is what life can be like when people who maybe don't know each other come together in a common cause for the uplifting or the betterment of humanity. And there wasn't any real talk about politics or anything like that. It was just the idea of sending love where it needed to go. And
Mhm.
I felt that there was about 12 of us in a circle standing
Mhm.
silently with our hands out. And I could feel the emotion, the energy, the intensity between us building, building, building. And there was a skylight above us in the ceiling, and I could feel the energy like being lifted up like an airplane going
Yeah.
who knows where. And then when you took your camera out and you started to film it, I got so emotional. And you're like, it's posted. I'm sending this out. It was just really incredible. So thank you for being so generous to share that personal moment with the audience here today. And just speaking about it again kind of comes back to me, you know? So yeah, so you have devoted your career to helping people transform their mind, body, and spirit, and through the heart. And so can you tell people a little bit, maybe they don't know about what tapping is, EFT, and how that relates to weight loss?
Okay, sure,
Yeah.
I'd love to. So EFT is emotional freedom technique, and it's a body-mind method in which we tap on specific acupuncture points with we do it on ourselves. So I don't tap on the patients, they tap on themselves.
Mhm.
And while we talk about the issue, we are raising the issue up, we talk about it, and then we get emotional because once we talk about like an anxiety that we have or a food craving, we our nervous system, it gets activated. So when I think about the chocolate and I talk about the chocolate, we actually take the chocolate and we smell it, we look at it, we want it, like we feel it in our body. So with a traumatic event that happened, or with an anxiety or phobia, so we activate this feeling, and then we tap, and when we do the tapping, it's actually deactivates this feeling. Like you can feel when you're tapping that you feel more calm, more centered. If we talk about the brains, our limbic system, it gets deactivated, so we feel more safe, more secure. And the heart, which was raising, is now more calm, and we're more centered. And it's interesting to see what happens with food cravings. They are gone like this, and it looks like a magical thing. Sometimes people say, Olga, I'm addicted to chocolate. Chocolate is number one. Like
Okay.
if when we look at food, it's chocolate and sweets. I'm addicted to chocolate. There's nothing you can do that will change it. And I said, just give me 10 minutes, okay? Just give me 10 minutes. I'm not even gonna tap on you. You're gonna tap on yourself. So I tap on myself. They tap on themselves while we're talking about how much we want the chocolate. And after a few minutes, like, hmm, I don't know. I don't think I want it. But it's hard for you to accept this change all of a sudden. So I say, okay, even if you don't quite sure that it worked, how about you try the chocolate now? They're like, I just don't feel like trying it, to be honest. I'm like, why not? Oh, I'm not hungry. You never need to be hungry to eat a chocolate. People find it hard to explain what just happened to them. But then they text me after a few days saying, you're not gonna believe it. I haven't touched a chocolate since then.
Wow.
And the interesting thing is that the research shows that this impact, this effect, it holds on for years. It's not something that you have to do every time you want a chocolate. You do it few times and you don't want the chocolate anymore. Now, sometimes after a while, not only that you don't want it, but when you try it, you feel actually that it's extremely sweet because your body, it did not, like, we didn't try all this sweetness for a while. So our body is clean now, and when we tried, it was like, oh, it's extremely sweet. And I had someone that said that she had a migraine when she tried to eat a chocolate. She was trying to be polite. She hasn't eaten a chocolate for a while after EFT, and then someone brought her this amazing chocolate, and she was trying to be polite, so she took a bite, and she said the next day she had a migraine. And
Wow.
then she said, nah, that cannot be it. So the next time it happened yet again, someone gave her a chocolate, she tried it, and she said the next day she felt awful, an awful migraine. And she said, and that was it. I just realized that my body really does not need it.
Yeah. Well, not only not needed, but that it's like poisonous for the body.
Yes, for her it was poisonous, yes.
Yeah. Wow. It's so shocking. I remember when I was coming up in graduate school and we were cautioned, don't believe things that are an instant cure. It's fake, it's a lie, it's a manipulation, it's a way to get money from people. And I had professors who were actually really opposed to this method of treatment when they heard about it, because how could it be that lifelong cravings could be, quote, cured in just a space of a short amount of time? And so, but we see that there is so much research now. Peter Stapleton has been,
Mhm. Yeah.
really in Australia has been doing the bulk of the work on specifically on food cravings. And practitioners from all over the world have been using this with clients. And so I'm sure there are individuals who maybe it doesn't work for, but for the most part, it does seem to work, not just with food cravings, but with other problems incredibly fast,
Yeah.
suspiciously
Yeah.
so.
I think I have to say, when I just met EFT, I was in the academical world. I was working on my PhD, very scientific mind. Everything has to be with data, but there is data. But I found the data in the research later, even with MRI that Peter Stapleton conducted. But first, the story of how I met EFT was that I was actually heartbroken.
Hmm.
I was saying someone, it was for the third time that we tried to make it work, which it didn't. And I was sitting at my desk and with the computer on, trying to work, but I was heartbroken. I was so disappointed. I was so sad. And also blaming myself. Like, why? And like, why would you try and do it the third time? And all of those emotions were there. And so all of a sudden, I received an email. The subject was, what can make you feel better right now?
Hmm.
I loved it. I was like, I really want to feel better right now. Now, by this time, I was already practicing NLP. I was already in my PhD, yet I did not have something that could help me right now, which I can do and will help me. So I clicked on it. It was from Hay House, which is
Oh,
the publishing house of Louise Hay. She was alive back then, and so I read this email and it says what you can do. You can do some mindfulness. Like, I tried that. You can meditate. I tried that. And then it's the EFT tapping. And I said, what's that? So I clicked on that. And there was a video of Louise Hay doing something like this on some traumatic event that she had with her stepfather. And I was like, that looks weird. It looks so weird. But when you would say when you're heartbroken, you're willing to try anything. So there was this link. So I click on it. There was some practice with EFT for letting go or something. So I did it for 10 minutes and I felt all those tears coming up. And I felt this relief. I felt like, I can breathe again.
wow.
And I liked how it felt in my body. Sometimes we do some emotional work or some mental work, but we're not using our body. But this, I just felt this relief. And I said, I want to do that again. So I did it again. And I just felt so good within like few minutes. And then I actually tested it. I had to meet this guy again. And I had to give him his key to his apartment. And
Hmm.
I was a bit anxious about it because, it's hard when you have to meet someone with whom it didn't work and you still like. So I met him and when I saw him, I just hugged him. I felt like, oh, I'm meeting a good friend. There wasn't all this resentment, all those unsolved emotions. It was like meeting a good friend. A friendship was there. I call it to tap someone or something away. It means we are tapping the emotional impact, the need for the chocolate. It's like we tap the chocolate away or the cake or the junk food. We can tap these kind of feelings that we have for other people, where it's unresolved feelings that we have, resentment or love. And it worked few times also with other people that asked me to do it. And yeah, so it works like a miracle, I would say. So this is how EFT found its way into my life, because unless I was there heartbroken when this email arrived, I don't think I would do this to myself.
Yeah.
And when I saw what it did, and then I had emotional eating back then, it was gone. I wouldn't buy chocolates anymore. I began eating much healthier. It just happened, and I realized there was something in this EFT. So I used it more and more, and I just saw how quickly it works, and that people, at the beginning they think it's weird, but then they like it because they can also use it on themselves in between our sessions.
Right. Yeah.
And so I did. I read the research, and I was fascinated. And yeah, it changed my life ever since.
Ah, what a great story. How amazing that you were so open in that moment. And I think that that happens when we have heartbreak or desperation in our lives, that we're open and willing to try something a little bit different, and that you were already familiar with the idea of um, change and mind-body connection through meditation, mindfulness, and neurolinguistic programming using words. I don't know, it sounds like the one that you did was wordless. The tapping sequence that you did was
No, no, we
wordless.
had words
Oh, you had
there.
words also.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it was so general, but
Yeah.
like, but still, it worked so good.
Yes, it's amazing. And, I think that instead of saying, well, if it's quick, it must not work, we're going to get to the point where we say, if it's slow, it's not working, which is the
Yeah,
bulk of mental health work is quite slow,
yeah,
traditionally. But as we engage these other systems of the body in the moment, along with the emotion and the thinking process, it's like you're supercharging your goal. And, instead of walking, you're taking a rocket ship. And then you
mm,
sort of arrive sort of stunned, like, how did I get here so quickly? It's quantum. It
yeah,
feels like quantum. And
yeah,
the fact that you could then go back and reconnect with this ex-partner in a loving and beautiful way
mm,
without the
yeah.
resentment, that like you're
Hmm.
seeing an old friend, what a gift for you. I
Yes.
mean, I bet your ex was surprised.
He was. I told you, you're not gonna believe it. I think I'm gonna do something new with my career. I'm gonna do this. And it was like, hey, okay,
Good luck for you.
that's great for you. I don't think he knows how I found it. But he was, I think he was the first one I told him about it. I'm doing something new.
And look at all the lives that you've affected because of that. You've turned it around in such a way. I mean, you really tried 3 times with the same person is like saying, yeah, there's really nothing more we can do here.
Yeah,
But yeah, how beautiful. And the cravings, and really the heartache is a craving for attachment. It's
yeah.
for intimacy, for connection,
Mm-hmm.
which is it's not a negative thing. And eating food is not a negative thing. These are things that
Exactly.
sustain us, but it's when they get veered off track that they can really wind up collecting all this extra debris that doesn't serve us, that winds up getting us farther from those genuine goals that we're starting, or needs that we're starting off with.
Um,
So yeah, that's so, so beautiful. So do you have any stories about maybe unusual things that have happened to people as a result of doing EFT for food cravings that you wanted to
yes.
share?
I do have to say that EFT for weight loss is not just the food cravings. The food cravings is the symptom. We work on it, and there are people that that's enough for them. It's like they had some kind of addiction, we got rid of it, and that's it. And they're good to go, and they lose weight because they don't have all those extra calories that they had from the sweets or the junk food. For others, though, then we go deeper. We go deeper into the emotions that the result of these unsolved emotions were the cravings. That's the emotional eating. So then we work also on the emotions. Then it's a longer process. And it's a more, I would say, a bit more intensive emotionally, but we release those emotions, those traumas that led to the emotional eating, which led to the cravings, which led to the gaining weight.
Yes.
So there are a few interesting stories. It's how when we do this work, we change the relationship that we have with food. Because when you have food cravings, when you have emotional eating, when you have social eating, food becomes more than just the food. And when we balance it with EFT, when you're stressed, you're not looking for sweets because you can relax yourself and you're more relaxed once we do the work. So our relationship with food is more balanced. And then what I saw was quite interesting. I had a grandmother, and she began this process of food cravings and emotional eating. And she would say that in her family, everyone is a bit like obsessed with food, and that her son, who was grown up and living on his own, the moment he would come to see her, he would just open the refrigerator and see what she has to eat. And he was also overweight. And her granddaughter, his daughter, she was just a small child, but she would also overeat. And she did not tell them anything. She did not tell them that we were doing this process. And after a while, after a few sessions, she said, Olga, okay, so I'm eating less, I have less food cravings, I'm more healthy, but something weird happened. And she tells me that now when her son comes over, he's not opening the refrigerator for some reason.
Wow.
I didn't know what to say at that moment. And she said, moreover, the granddaughter, now when she eats her cottage cheese, she stops at halfway there and she says, that's all, that's it, I'm full. And she said, do you have any explanation? And I said, to be honest, I don't know. Like, I know we're all connected, but I don't know. But I think that was one of the first things. But then I saw it go even beyond food. I had couples that came back together when the woman was doing this work. And part of EFT is that we truly love and accept ourselves. That's actually the beginning of the sequence. Even though I have this problem, I truly love and accept myself. So there's something happening when we love and accept ourselves that other people are more drawn to us. So I had someone approach me and she said that she has those food cravings. And when we talked, I realized she had an emotional eating, and the emotional eating was because her husband, to whom she was married for many, many years, and they already had 11 grandchildren, I think they were 11. He left her after all those years, and he left her for another woman. And so we did the traumatic event. We worked on the chocolate, but we also worked on the traumatic event and her feeling lonely. And things started to change. She felt less and less the need to contact him, to invite him to family dinners, because she would still invite him to be part of the family. And then one day, it was over Zoom, we began the session, and she says, "Oh, I think this session we'll have to finish it like in 20 minutes. And I said, what's happening? And she said, he's back home. And I said, wait, what? What? She said, he's back, and I don't even know if I want him back. And I said, listen, you don't need to make any choices, decisions right now. Just say, I'm curious about how and what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And she said, I don't know, but with the work that we did, I'm not even sure I want him back.
Mm,
And the fact that he was back, it's because he wasn't needy anymore.
yeah.
She that and she released him. And once you release someone, they sometimes they find their way back. And you know what? That was our last session.
Okay.
So I think that I don't know what happened there, but that was an interesting.
Yeah, those stories are so fascinating. So, coming up in graduate school, I learned about family systems dynamics. And this
Mm,
is true for families and other systems of communication, including physical systems, of
mm,
how a part of a system can influence another part, seemingly at a distance or indirectly or in ways that are not understood. And it's because, like puzzle pieces, they're part of the whole. And so if you shift one thing, then you're shifting everything else. So some of what you're talking about, if someone's trained in this, might say, oh, well, that's just the family system dynamic that changed. When you change yourself, then you attract people differently and so on. But I think that it goes beyond that as well. I think that that's true at one level. But I think that at another level, Roger Callahan, who started this whole movement with thought field therapy, talked about thought fields. And what are thought fields? They are actually actual physical reality, but in such a subtle vibration that you can't really like point towards it, but it does have an impact. And these thoughts are things, and that they collect energy. And when you shift them, there's impact, just like there would be for throwing a snowball or rolling down a hill or leaning on an elbow and then moving your weight. And so interesting about the grandmother with the refrigerator food and how her son then didn't just immediately open the refrigerator or look for the food, and that the granddaughter started to regulate her appetite so that she understood when she was full and done eating, which is a healthy sign, but one that can get overridden when you have anxiety and traumas and other things. You start not listening. It's like the noise
yeah.
becomes too large. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you calm your body and mind and spirit down, then those natural impulses kind of come back online, and you can start to resonate with them in this beautiful dance of health. And so I believe, listening to your stories, that the impact of these thought fields changing and other fields of energy changing was enough to retrack these people. So the interesting thing would be if the son then started to not be as interested in food in general, not just at mom's house.
That's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, because
Was focusing on her.
yeah, but it is an interesting idea if it generalizes, because in her home there was a compelling attraction, like a magnetic attraction to the refrigerator that he was used to and that was practiced, that he was probably raised with. And then when she shifted it, it's almost like it got neutralized. And then
Mhm,
he's not following unconsciously that same stream any longer. But,
mhm.
for the granddaughter, it looks like it generalized to her general eating. So that's
Yeah.
beautiful. And then the story with the love attraction or repulsion of having the ex and then coming back, and that she changed herself is just so interesting. And then she's like, I don't even know if I want this guy anymore.
Mhm.
Oh, let me look at him and see, where am I and where is he, and is this even a match, a healthy match for me? Am I even interested?
Mhm,
And so that speaks to some kind of a deeper transformation, maybe on a spiritual level. Um,
mhm,
I have found myself that when I'm really, really done with something, like I've worked through all the different layers of the relationship or the experience, it's almost like it gets neutralized to the point where it loses its effervescence, its pull, and it almost becomes boring,
mhm,
or um, common happenstance, ordinary, or almost like it didn't happen, like it's a dream or a memory rather than something that has still a charge to
Mhm.
it. It's
Yeah.
almost like it becomes bland.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's something that I see a lot with EFT. We would like to reach a point when, if it's let's say it's a traumatic event, it's when you remember it, but there is no negative emotion that rises when you think of it.
yeah,
And when it's broken heart, it's when you see the person for who he really is, and you know they're not this. When we're in love with someone, we crave that person. It's like craving a chocolate. It's almost the same for our brains.
yeah.
And we have those 13 neurotransmitters, which include oxytocin and dopamine. And so we're extremely attracted. And with EFT, we kind of neutralize that.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with anxiety or phobias. So you can feel more secure and more grounded on your everyday life. And so many people today nowadays they suffer from chronic stress. So the everyday life is very, very stressful. So how can you really be connected to your heart? How can you be connected truly to people around you when you are in this stress, when you have this cortisol in your body? And I had someone who did my online program. We haven't even talked together yet. And she said, Olga, I have to share this. So she entered my program, online program, without even discussing it with her husband. She decided she's doing it and that's it. And after a while, now that's a weight loss program, okay? A weight loss program. After a while, before she even started losing the weight, her husband all of a sudden says, darling, are you doing something? And she said, what do you mean? It's like something changed in the atmosphere in the home. And she said, in what way? He says, something has calmed down. It feels more calm. And she said, well, actually, I'm trying to lose weight, which, people actually think losing weight is stressful. We have dieting, all this stress. And so she said she's trying to lose weight, which she did. And so I'm doing this. And I said, that looks very weird. But if that's what's doing, if that's what makes this home more calm now, keep on doing that. So he ended up thanking me, and you have no idea how many husbands end up thanking for the programs. And not because, oh, now I have, my wife is now more healthy, or she lost weight. It's not that. They talk about the losing weight as the last thing that happened, as
Mm-hmm.
the bonus. They're talking about what happened to the relationship. Someone said, I'm finally made a peace agreement with myself. Now, once you have this transformation, it transforms to your family, to people around you. And it's like, yeah, I'm always excited about it. And it's part of my mission, I think, in this world.
Beautiful. Thank you for that story too. And I think it is true that when we take away the noise of our stress, then our natural tendencies start to blossom. It's like you don't even have to really focus so much on your heart connection or creativity or tranquility or whatever. It's there, it's waiting for you. And it's finally like you cleared enough debris, so, you cleaned enough so that it can shine on its own. And you can actually use tapping to enhance those natural qualities of expanded abilities and creativity and love and connection, which doesn't get talked about quite as much because we're so focused on getting rid of all the trauma or the distress, because that's what brings people in. But you can enhance yourself and your relationships, but it happens naturally too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're meant to be connected in a healthy way. Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love it. Oh, you shared some really fascinating stories about the unexpected outcomes. You know, you're going for one direction and then all these other things happen too. And sometimes you don't even get to the craving or the weight loss or whatever. When all these other good things, it's kind of like it helps propel you to keep you
Mhm.
going, you know, because like as you said, weight loss can be quite stressful. You know, I know we're coming to the end of our time, but what occurred to me listening to you, have you ever dealt with food aversion? People who don't want to eat?
That's not the field that I work in,
Okay.
but it's something that is worth it to try because when we work on eliminating the cravings, we also work on wanting more and feeling excited about what's healthy, which usually we don't crave, which vegetables and drinking water and eating fruits. And it works. It works. So if I want to feel like I want more fruits in my life, I want more vegetables, we can do it. Like just like you said, with creativity and we do not just eliminate what we don't want. Also, if you see an EFT, sometimes some would just eliminate like the anxiety, and there are those like me who after this we do few minutes of what it is that I want. I want to feel centered, I want to feel calm. So we can use it for all kind of directions, and I
Okay.
think food aversion is something that yeah worth a try.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. You know, is there anything else that you'd like to share about healing tips from the heart or something about your journey or those that you've worked with before we say goodbye for today?
I think that if you are curious about EFT, you have so many resources, and I like doing EFT at least a few times a week. And it's just general hygiene, I would say. And our cortisol levels, they drop. This is the stress hormone, and when it drops, it's easier to listen to our heart. It's so hard to be connected to your inner voice when you're in anxiety or stress, when you're overwhelmed or you have so many things on your mind. But when you calm down, and it's only a few minutes, uh, I just love after EFT, just to connect to my heart and listen to its wisdom and what it has to say today.
Yes, thank you. That still small voice that can save your life but won't interfere normally. And you have to give space for it. And then there it is. And the more you use it, the stronger it becomes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Oh, it's always such a delight to spend time with you. And through this magic of the internet where we get to cross time zones and
Yeah.
countries. And thank you for sharing these beautiful stories and to all the people that your life has touched theirs. And of course, all the information about you and that we've talked about links to information on tapping and so on will be in the program notes, including all of your contact information should people be curious about you and your online programs. So
Thank
thank you so
you. Thank you
much.
so much. It was a great pleasure, and it's always interesting to talk to you. And I learn so much every time. It's it's
We learn
great.
from
Thank
each
you
other.
very
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
much.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. If you want to learn more, you can visit my website for podcast and resources at hopshealingtips.com. You can also like, share, and subscribe to this channel. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and is not providing healthcare advice. Please seek guidance from your professional healthcare team should you need assistance.